Ladies and gentlemen, another E3 is in the bag. And this year, you know, while it wasn't the best E3 in the world, it wasn't the worst E3 in the world either. As a matter of fact, we got a lot of really cool announcements from Microsoft, from Square Enix, from Ubisoft, and especially from Nintendo, as well as limited run games. Let's not forget them. So today I want to tell you about my top 10 favorite moments of E3 2019. And we're going to count down from number 10 to number 1. So be sure and hit that subscribe button so that you can join the RetroWolf88 family. And let's get into my top 10 favorite moments of E3 2019. Number 10. Now this may be a very unpopular opinion, and many of you may not agree with me on this one, but Bethesda actually surprised me with the Fallout 76 announcement of the Nuclear Winter free update. So basically the Nuclear Winter update is Bethesda adding a Battle Royale mode to Fallout 76, a 52-player Battle Royale mode. Now, at first when I saw this, I was like, yeah, I don't know. And let me start by telling you all this. I bought Fallout 76 when it first came out. Me and my editor played it together. We probably put in 25 to 30 hours. And to be quite honest with you, we actually had a good time. We enjoyed the game. Yes, it is a buggy, well, let me rephrase that. It was a buggy mess, and I'm sure it still is to some degree. It had a lot of problems. It probably should not have released in that state. They probably should have gave it another year before they released it. Nonetheless, we did have a good time. We did, however, start to get a little bored with it, and so we kind of dropped off. But with this new Battle Royale mode coming into the game, it looks interesting. And the reason that it's number 10 on my list is because several YouTubers that I trust their opinion of made videos about the Battle Royale mode, and according to them, it's actually pretty solid. It's a lot of fun according to them. They said the gameplay mechanics and the shooting has been refined, and they said they actually enjoyed it and had a good time. Now, I haven't had a chance to try it yet, but it's definitely on my radar. As soon as my editor's able to, me and him are probably going to boot it up and give it a try, and we may end up getting hooked into it. And it may end up getting us back into Fallout 76 to see how much they've improved the game. So, yes, that is number 10 on the list for me. That may be a surprise to all of you out there, but, you know, we're all entitled to our opinions. Let's move on to number 9. Number 9 on the list. So, I don't know how many of you out there are familiar with limited run games. I actually did a video previously about the first 5 Nintendo Switch releases from limited run games, and eventually I'll do a video on the next 5 releases from them, so on and so forth. But they put on their own E3 press conference. It was pre-recorded and it was very entertaining. You can tell they had a lot of fun with it. They had some major announcements in that press conference of games that they're going to be releasing physically in limited quantities for various consoles, including the Nintendo Switch. And one announcement really blew me away, and I'm very happy about it. They are releasing both Turok 1 and 2, the HD remasters, both in physical edition on the Nintendo Switch, and that is awesome because I love the original Turok games for the Nintendo 64. I have a lot of nostalgia for those games. I have not had a chance to play the HD remasters yet. It looks like it's at a much faster frame rate, modern controls. It looks like a blast, and I cannot wait till Limited Run Games releases these physically. I need these in my collection. I have a feeling that they're going to sell a ton of those because there's a lot of people out there that love Turok and have a lot of nostalgia for the series, just like me. So that is number 9 on the list. I am very pumped for that. Let's move on to number 8. Number 8 on the list, staying on the topic of limited run games. At the very end of their presentation, just like Nintendo does, they had just one more thing to announce, and boy was it a bombshell. My jaw was on the floor and my eyeballs popped out of my skull. They announced that they had partnered with Lucasfilm to release limited physical editions of classic Star Wars games such as The Empire Strikes Back, Star Wars Bounty Hunter, the Jedi Knight Academy and Outcast games, Star Wars Dark Forces, Empire Strikes Back. I think they're doing all 3 of the Super Nintendo Star Wars games, I believe. I'd have to go back and look at the list, but nonetheless, they are releasing several Star Wars titles physically for various systems such as the PS4, the PlayStation Vita, I think PC. I'm not sure if any of these are coming to the Nintendo Switch or not, probably not. But either way it goes, I may end up having to buy all of these because I love Star Wars and I love those old classic Star Wars video games. My favorite being Shadows of the Empire for the Nintendo 64 and Jedi Knight 2 Jedi Outcast for the Nintendo GameCube. So I'm very excited about that, and kudos to Limited Run Games for striking a deal with Disney and Lucasfilm to be able to have exclusive rights to publish those games physically. I think that's freaking awesome. So that's number 8. Let's move on to number 7. So number 7 on the list. Now this technically wasn't announced during the week of E3. It was announced before E3, and that's from THQ Nordic. They announced that they are releasing a complete remake of SpongeBob Battle for Bikini Bottom, and they're calling it SpongeBob Battle for Bikini Bottom Rehydrated. Now, they didn't show any gameplay, but they did say that it's going to be a complete remake. I believe it's coming out this year. It's going to be $29.99 physically and digitally, and they're going to have unreleased content in the game. Now, some of you may know that I absolutely love SpongeBob SquarePants Battle for Bikini Bottom. It's one of my favorite 3D platformers on the Nintendo GameCube. It's definitely high up there on the list. I consider it a hidden gem. And I actually did a video in my GameCube Gallery series, episode number 2. I will leave a link to that in the description down below. Be sure and check that out so that you can learn about SpongeBob SquarePants Battle for Bikini Bottom and see what I think about the game in a little bit more detail. But I'm very excited about this. THQ Nordic, they're absolutely killing it right now. They've bought so many IPs like Time Splitters, Second Sight, Destroy All Humans, and they just keep buying more and releasing budget titles. That's the thing. They have become a mega publisher that are releasing budget mid-tier titles like we used to see during the GameCube, PS2, and Xbox era, and that is awesome. I cannot wait to see what they do next. And I love SpongeBob SquarePants Battle for Bikini Bottom, and I can't wait to get my hands on that remake so that I can play it and compare it to the GameCube version. So that is number 7. Let's get into number 6. Number 6 is just mind-blowing to me, and I cannot wait to see how it turns out. And that is The Witcher 3 Complete Edition being released physically and digitally on the Nintendo Switch. And it has all the DLC, and it's all on the cartridge, a 32 gigabyte cartridge, and that is awesome. Now, I know what some of you are saying right now. The game is at a much lower resolution and graphical fidelity than the PS4 and Xbox One version, and you would be correct. But guess what? They had to do that in order for the game to run smoothly and competently on the Nintendo Switch at a solid frame rate. And you know what? I've watched comparison videos. There's one from Direct Feed Games, and I'll leave a link to that in the description down below. I've watched comparison videos showing a comparison of the Nintendo Switch version to, I think, the PS4 version. And yes, there is a difference in the graphics and the resolution. But you know what? The game still looks good, and it looks good enough to play. And as long as the frame rate runs at a solid 30 to 60 frames, it's going to be a great experience, and you're going to be able to play The Witcher 3 on the go, and that is awesome. I have The Witcher 3 for the PS4, and I played about 5 to 10 hours of it, and I ended up having to stop because I was tethered to the TV, and I didn't have enough time to sit there and play it. But with it being on the Nintendo Switch and it being a console that you can play anywhere at any time, I'm probably going to be able to play through the full game finally. And that has me very excited. Thank you, CD Projekt Red and Nintendo, for making this happen. That is a very awesome third-party gift for Nintendo. That is number 6 on the list. Let's get into number 5. Number 5. There are 2 things in this world that I love. George R.R. Martin and his Song of Ice and Fire series, as well as the Game of Thrones TV series on HBO. George R.R. Martin is a freaking genius. He is a fantastic, brilliant writer. And I also love From Software. They're known for making the Dark Souls games, Sekiro Shadows Die Twice, Bloodborne, and a few other miscellaneous games that you may or may not have heard of. But they announced that From Software has teamed up with George R.R. Martin I guess he'll be doing the story and the world building, but they're doing a game called Elden Ring. It looks very dark, it looks very epic. Now, we didn't see any gameplay, it was a cinematic trailer, and we don't know much about the game yet other than it is an open world game that's going to have gameplay, I believe, similar to the Souls games, and George R.R. Martin is in collaboration with them on the game. And you know what? That's all I need to know. I'm sold. Take my money and give me that game because I want to play it, and I cannot wait to find out more about it and see gameplay. I would expect that to probably be a 2020 game, but you know what? I'm fine with waiting. I want it to be amazing, and I cannot wait to see what they have in store for us with Elden Ring. So that is number 5 on the list. It's time for number 4, and we're getting closer and closer to my number 1 favorite moment of E3 2019. Number 4, you know what's awesome? Cyberpunk 2077 from CD Projekt Red, their next big AAA game. It looks incredible, and there are so many people that are hyped for this game. Now, during the Microsoft press conference, we saw another cinematic trailer with a little smidge of gameplay in it. At the end of that cinematic trailer, something very awesome happened. Keanu Reeves showed up. Keanu Reeves is in Cyberpunk 2077. And not only that, he walked into Microsoft's press conference on the stage to talk about the game and his role in it. And if you don't like Keanu Reeves, I don't even know what to say to you because he is the man. He is actually a really good human being. You can go on the internet and do a little bit of research and you will find countless stories of Keanu Reeves just doing awesome stuff. Not to get attention, just because he likes you know, being just a general awesome dude. And you know, he may not be the best actor in the world, but he's very talented. I mean, just watch the John Wick movies and, you know, watch some of the behind the scenes training that he has to do in preparation for those movies. The dude is legit, and I'm a big fan of his movies. I've been a big fan of him since I was a kid, and it's really awesome to see him in a video game in Cyberpunk 2077. Cannot wait to find out more about what his role is. That is number 4 on the list. Let's get into number 3. Number 3. You know what else I love? Contra. I love the Contra series. Anything from the 2 games on the NES to Super Contra, the Alien Wars on the Super Nintendo. I love Contra. Contra is a fantastic series, very hard, very fun, very satisfying and epic with just amazing boss fights. However, I thought, you know, as many of you probably thought, I thought Konami was done with Contra. I thought they killed it and they were never going to do anything with it again. But we did hear recently that they were going to release the Contra Anniversary Collection, which has a bunch of Contra games on it. As a matter of fact, it is out right now on the Nintendo Switch digitally, and that's awesome. But during Nintendo's E3 presentation, we got a trailer for a brand new Contra game from Konami. Now, here's the caveat to that. It's not a 2D Contra game in the style that we are all used to and know and love. It is a sort of 3D isometric kind of twin stick shooter style Contra game. So, you know, it may not be as good as the older games, but I'm willing to give it a chance, and I'm just happy that Konami's doing something new with the Contra series. This gives me hope that if this game is good and it's successful, then maybe eventually they'll go back to the 2D style and do a new 2D Contra game. But like I said, I'm willing to give the game a chance. It actually looks pretty fun. It looks a little on the goofy and silly side. I don't know how I feel about that, but I'm willing to overlook that if the gameplay, okay, let me take a step back. If they can manage to capture the feeling of a 2D Contra game in this 3D isometric style, if they can capture the feeling, I'll be on board. I would rather have 2D because that's what I'm most nostalgic for, but if they can capture that feeling, I will definitely be on board. And I've pre-ordered the game. I've watched some gameplay. It looks solid. It looks fun. And when it comes out, I'll check it out. Probably do some videos for it on the channel. So be on the lookout for that. But yeah, Contra, I believe it's called Contra Rogue Corps. And it comes out in September. So we don't have too much longer to wait for that. Thank you, Konami. I feel like Konami, they might be making a comeback. I think they're starting to learn what they're doing wrong, and I think it's awesome. I want Konami to make a comeback. I think that would be amazing. But let's move on to number 2. Number 2. And as you can see here, you probably already know what number 2 is. I freaking love Banjo. I love Banjo Kazooie and Banjo Tooie, as you can see, because I have a complete in-box copy of both games on the Nintendo 64. They are 2 of my favorite 3D platformers of all time. Love these games, have a ton of nostalgia for them, and ever since Super Smash Bros. Was a thing, I've always wanted to see Banjo in a Smash Bros. Game. That has always been a dream of mine. And near the end of Nintendo's E3 press conference, they freaking announced Banjo in Smash. And the way they revealed him was so freaking awesome. It was funny because, you know, you see Donkey Kong and Diddy Kong and King K. Rool, you know, kind of hanging out. And then you see a puzzle piece fly by them. One of the puzzle pieces from the Banjo series. And then they look outside and they see silhouette of what looks like Banjo and Kazooie, but it turns out it's the Duck Hunt dog. And then the Duck Hunt dog gets smacked out of the way, and then you actually see Banjo and Kazooie, and they then proceed to show some gameplay with the moveset. It looks awesome. It looks like they're really staying true to the game. And Banjo looks like he's going to be an absolute blast to play as in Smash Bros. His stage looks awesome. The music sounds really good, and I'm just so freaking happy. Thank you, Nintendo and Microsoft, for making this happen. I wasn't as excited for the first fighter that they revealed at the beginning of the press conference, at the presentation, but at the end when they dropped Banjo, I almost got tears in my eyes. You know, I was that happy because I love Banjo and I love Smash Bros. Put the 2 together and magic will happen. So that is number 2. Now, we're going to move on to number 1 on the list, and I'm going to give you 5 seconds to guess what number 1 is. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. You guessed it. Number 1, my number 1 favorite moment of E3 2019 was at the very end of Nintendo's press conference when they announced a freaking sequel to one of my favorite games of all time. It's probably in my top 5 most beloved favorite games of all time. Zelda Breath of the Wild. Now, I have always suspected that Nintendo would do a sequel to Breath of the Wild, and there's a couple of different reasons for that. Number 1, it came out very early in the Nintendo Switch's life. Number 2, they built an entirely new engine for the game, and they revolutionized the way the Zelda franchise works. So, you know what? It only makes sense to make a sequel, right? Because they've got this awesome game engine they built, this awesome world they've already created, this awesome story that they could expand upon. So, you know, they've got the groundwork already built for them. So what that means is that they should be able to put out a sequel much quicker. Now, I'll admit, I did not expect them to announce it during this E3. I expected them to announce it in next year's E3 in 2020. So they completely blew me away and surprised me when they not only announced it, but showed an amazing cinematic trailer that has a much, much darker tone. The game looks like it's going to be very dark. And, you know, they didn't show any gameplay. They didn't really talk about the game a whole lot, but that cinematic trailer was enough for my jaw to be on the floor, and I was definitely tearing up in happiness over that trailer. And I've watched it like 10 times. I just love it. I'm very, very excited for this, and I have a feeling that they're going to have this game ready to go by holiday 2020. I really do. I feel like they've been working on it already since they finished the first game, and I think they've been hiring a lot of people for it. So I think this game is going to be ready sooner than we think. I expect to see a full blowout in E3 of next year, if not the Nintendo Direct that comes after that, but probably E3. But to me, that was just the number 1 announcement in E3, and that was Nintendo just dropping the mic. That was just the most epic mic drop that they have ever done, in my opinion, at the end of an E3 Direct. And thank you, Nintendo. You're just killing it. Do the same thing with Super Mario Odyssey. Let's get a Super Mario Odyssey 2 using the same game engine and turn that out quicker. I have a feeling they're probably doing that too. But yeah, that's number one, my number one favorite moment of E3 2019. So there you have it, folks. Those are my top 10 favorite moments of E3 2019. All in all, I'm very happy with this E3. I really think that it was a good E3, minus a few companies having very poor press conferences. You probably know who I'm talking about, but Microsoft did a really good job, Square Enix did a good job, and Nintendo, in my opinion, Nintendo won E3. I feel like they completely blew away all the other companies, and in my eyes, they just destroyed E3 and did just such an amazing job revealing so many amazing games, and then capping it off with that ultimate mic drop. You know the drill. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure and hit that like button and subscribe so that you can join the RetroWolf family. Let me know in the comments down below what some of your favorite moments of E3 2019 are and why. And also let me know in the comments down below if you have any predictions for next year's E3. It's a little hard to predict that far ahead of time, but if you have any predictions, throw them down in the comments down below. Until next time, keep playing games and having a good time. I'm going to go grab a beer and play some more Days Gone. I'm still playing that game. It's a long game. I think I'm getting close to the end though. So, catch you later.